All right, where are we? We're on the players, and we're having a nine-hole cut. These Golf Clash announced that they're teaming up with the PGA for the next couple of years, and that they're going to be making courses that are in the regular tour. Hopefully, they'll come out with 18-hole courses. So, for those of you that haven't played forever and a day, okay. So when it first started, when Golf Clash first started, they had their first tournament. Here's some weird things about the win that a lot of you might not know. So the first tournament, there's a lot of bitching about the first couple tournaments actually, because the tournaments were like one-on-one. So you could play and get on a hole and you had a big tailwind, and I could play 2 seconds later and get matched up with somebody else and we have a big headwind. So wins were variable just like they are in one-on-one. And there was a lot of people bitching about that it was unfair because, I mean, obviously it is unfair. I mean, if you're on some holes and you got tailwind, you got a big opportunity to get up there. And if you got headwind, you may have to lay it up. And we didn't have the ball inventory that we have now. So they changed that and they went to standardized wind. And so the deal here is both of these, where they had standardized wind and then they had variable wind, you could be on hole number 1 and somebody else could be on hole number 10 or 2 and 11 or whatever. And it didn't matter. So it could help speed up play because you got to think about how many players they had playing at the time. So you could be on hole number 1 and your opponent could be on hole number 10, and that was part of the reason, like when you see your opponent at the end, it doesn't show your scores because like they may be on a different hole than you, and it would help speed it up so they could get twice as many people through since we only got 9 holes. But now that we have variable wins, the win that you get on hole number 1 is going to be different than the win that you get on hole number 10. So when you play somebody on hole number 1, they're playing hole number 1. When you get somebody and you're on hole number 10, you're playing somebody on hole number 10. And so when they made this change, I'm baffled why we don't have 18-hole golf tournaments, at least in the majors. And they have, they keep coming out with new courses, not counting what they're going to come out with for the PGA, but if they're doing PGA courses, they're 18-hole courses. The PGA doesn't play 9-hole courses. They don't do 9 and then go back and do another 9. They're 18-hole courses. So there's no reason why we can't have 18-hole courses. And now we've got multiple pin placements. And one of the things that you find if you've ever played in a real golf tournament is one round the pins are in one spot, and the next round they've moved the pins. And usually on the weekend round, they move the pins into the worst freaking spot possible. And now that we have, they could do the same thing. We should be able to. This game has been around long enough, and the variable win stuff has been out there for the last 2 or 3 years, that we should be getting 18-hole courses, and there's no reason why we can't have one round where we've got the old pin placements, and then the next round we've got the new pin placements. So hopefully, not only are they going to come out with, because it will be cool to play some of these courses that are real life courses, but it would be a lot cooler if we had 18-hole courses, and if we had multiple pin placement, because it would just add some variety to it. So this is brand new. We haven't played these holes before. I tried to get a hold of Dunner to see if we could do a practice round, because it's always good when Dunner and I can get matched up during a practice round, because we can really go out there and practice. But I couldn't get a hold of him, so here we go. I'll just play it by myself. I'm a big boy. So let's see if we can get. Hell, this hole's so big. What is this? A par 4 or a par 5? Damn, that's a big par 4. So it looks pretty straightforward from the rookie tees. Just trying to hit. Now, we do have a little bit of a narrowing right down here at the end of our run, but obviously on any time we're playing a par 4, we want to get as close to the green as possible. Now, I know this week they've got a 3 power, 5 topspin boost, 5 side spin, 3 wind ball, and this is definitely the type of hole that topspin boost would be good for, to try and get you through this narrow spot. And it looks like we have a pretty straight run at it. So I'm going to practice today. I'm going to see what we can get done with a Titan. But I'm sure that we could get up there with a... and that hole looks like it's, there's not a lot of ways to play it. We're just going to go straight forward. So I want to bring out my biggest top spin club, which is going to be my Extra Mile. We'll bring out a Titan, the king of balls, and see what we can get done with the Titan today. Now, I'm sure that these holes are going to, it's going to be better. I don't know where we can get with a Titan on this, but I'm sure that the topspin boost balls could come in handy, especially if you got lower developed clubs. Especially. I know they said they were going to announce some big special tournament thing. Well, we've already had one that's with the PGA, but it would really be nice to have an 18-hole. Really be nice to have an 18-hole course. Now we could probably get up there just doing some overpower. Probably overhit it. I'm going to take the wind out. I'm going to come over about 2.5 rings. Take that wind out. It's 2.8. That should be about 1.5 rings. One ring great to the right. That'll probably put me in the rough on the other side through that narrow section right here. Probably needed to go out about 3 rings. And the reason I went out 3 rings like that is when you're using curl, sometimes on shots like that, it gives me, on the first landing spot, it gives me more separation. And when I'm setting up those types of shots, I really like to do those shots with max curl. Because you can get, okay, I'm going to do 1 ball of curl, or I'm going to do this much curl. If I'm going to set the shot up, and I'm going to take a few shots to get the curl right, it's easier to replicate the shot over and over and over again if you use max curl instead of, some curl. Where are we at in my club? I'm close. I'm close. Close. Damn close. There's max. There's mid. I'm in that 8 per ring range. Four two. Should be about 1 ring and a titch. Ring and a smidget. And jeez, that was so great to the right, to the left. I'm surprised it wasn't good. These look like big greens, and I'm curious because back when the game first came out, like these big ass greens like this, if you got in the wrong spot, you couldn't get to the cup. But here a few years ago, they did kind of change the geometry so that if you're far away, you can still get to the cup. You just have an overpower putt, or you're getting into overpower. There's some of these, especially if you're playing some of the older holes, the original like 5 courses that came out. I think there were 7. We had 7 tours, and each one had a couple in it. So, but not all of them were full. Like the Oasis only had 5 holes to begin with, and there were several other courses that were the same way. They weren't full courses. They came out later and then finished the course off. And I missed it. Ooh, just barely. All right. Looks pretty straightforward. I think I'll tell you right now, from the landing spot that's down there, if you brought out a 5 power ball, you wouldn't have to do any overpower, especially if you brought a 5 power ball out there's some of them out there that have a little bit of the topspin. That is the whole thing about this game that has changed, is you can go out there and hit that with overpower and set it up and get it so that you can get your curl right, so you can bring it around and get everything just perfect. But you can increase your odds of hitting that hole over and over and over again by bringing out a bigger ball. So in this situation, from where the tee box is, let me see if I can get you can see where the tee box is at right here. So it's on this line. So my line coming out, I'm coming off in this direction, trying to give myself some separation in this area. I came out 2.5 rings from this rough transition, and that put my ball like going off on this area, and I should have pulled it out about 3, even though I hit it 2 rings great to the right and ended up in the sand right here. If I hit it perfect, I think it would have been right on the edge. And so trying to go right down the middle. I'm giving myself 3 rings of separation, and then doing max curl to the right would have brought the ball back around so that I ended up traveling down the center of this fairway. But if you have a bigger power ball, instead of your red line being here where you're having to push out in order to give yourself a little bit of separation, you can get in front of that. So my red line, I'm just going to pick a spot. Let's say my red line was there. If you bring out a bigger power ball, 4 power balls here, so that means you can start off more to the right so that you're going straighter down the fairway to start off with. You bring out a 5 power ball, now you're actually able to kind of get it more in the middle so that you can go straight down the middle of the fairway. And if you've got a little bit of headwind, you can pull yourself off just a little bit more so that you can give yourself room behind and then put a slight bit of curl on it. But when you're back in this area here, typically on these types of shots, I like to do blind curl shots where I'm setting it up and I'm going in this area and I'm giving myself 2.5, 3 rings of separation, and then I'm doing max curl. And I usually have to take that shot several times in order to find out what the curl is. So like if I hit it perfect and I gave myself 2.5 rings and I was right along this edge, then what I would do on the setup is I would bring it out 3 rings or maybe 3.5 rings, so that when it's rolling through, I want it to roll through right dead center. That way, if I hit a great to the left, it ends up still in the fairway. If I hit a great to the right, it still ends up in the fairway. All right, that looks pretty straightforward, and we definitely have ball inventory out there that can make this hole easier, but that's going to have to be, we're going to have to get an eagle on that. We're going to have to hit it cleanly up to the top and get an eagle on that hole. I think that's pretty much going to be a must. And the other thing I noticed that the other course that we have that's with the PGA was super easy. And so it's just part of the way that the game works. So if they've got their yardage here and they've got the hole set up, in the way Golf Clash plays, I think these holes might be fairly easy. Maybe not all of them, but the other course was definitely easy. You can see a little bit of movement on this fairway. There might be, based off where the pin's at, there might be a rough bump that we could do over here if we have a big side spin ball. And it might be coming back out in here and then doing a rough bump and pulling it up. That'd probably be, if that was in your long iron range, that would definitely be a Goliath. So there might be a shot from over here and over here. A straightforward shot, you can see that there's a little bit of there's a hump. You can see it drops off on this side, but you can see right here where this line is. Let me erase it. You can see there's a little teeny bit of movement there. So just running it up to the cup and just starting off in the front and running it up might not be a bad play either if these rough bumps don't work. And I really don't like this type of rough bump. This is what I call an I rough bump. I'm more into a T rough bump where you're doing this, where you can hit to the left or the right and you're still on the rough. Here you hit to the left, you're in the fairway. You hit to the right, you're in the sand. And both of those are no bueno. This one, if you're hitting against headwind or tailwind and you under or over pull, then you could find yourself in a bit of trouble. But we'll have to see whether or not the rough bump, and it does look like if you have a big enough side spin ball that there might be a rough bump right here where you can bring it around. It also depends on what kind of movement there is on the course. If the course rolls down a little bit, it'll kind of help that. But we'll have to see. Let's go out there and check it out. Let's just take I'll just take a Quasar. Let's have a Katana as our backup ball. Let's pin a Katana. And I'll take a Quasar. And I'll take just my standard bag. I should be able to get it done with that. If not, I do have a bag that's got a Goliath in it. Let's see, is it my 4th bag? Just in case. And I'm not going to be too concerned about trying to, if I time out, I'm not really too concerned about it. I want to see what's possible. If we can get an opponent. Now, I was talking to one of my teammates, Richard. What's up, Richard? And we talked for about 2 hours. He lives in Thailand. And we were talking about one of the other YouTubers saying, why do we have to wait for a practice opponent? I get that, but on the flip side of the coin, I actually like having a practice. I actually don't mind when I'm practicing of waiting for somebody. And the reason I don't mind waiting for somebody, man, if you had a 5-side spin ball right there. Do I have a 5-side spin ball? Let's see. Let's bring one of those out. Hey, I don't need to know what it is. You're telling me right there what it is. Okay, you're gonna freeze up on me? No. Okay. All right. Jesus. And I'd have to bring out a different ball if I wanted to do that rough bump. And that rough bump looks a little bit dangerous because it's on that hillside. There's a hump right there. So if you hit a little bit to the left or you hit a little bit to the right, it's on that arc. So it's not gonna go if you hit it. So, and I'll draw that out. If you're on this kind of hump and you hit it right here, the deal is that it's going to go off to the left. If you hit it right here, it's going to go off to the right. And so you really have to make everything's got to be perfect in order for that to work. I'm not sure if I like that area for a rough bump because you can be off just a little, or you just make it just a slightly bad wind adjustment and it could go south on you. Let's just see what it looks like if I just go straight at it. It look like there's Max Club. Pull back just a little. See where the crease is on the course? I'm going to pull back right to that crease. My white line's right on that crease. Let's see how close I can get to my... So it's definitely downhill. I'm going to do a 3-9. So 3-9. I'm going to do a 20%. 1.2 times 3 divided by 0.9 is 4 rings. Hey, get where I want you. Hitting it perfect. We'll see what a 20% does. It was way downhill. You can tell because you can't get close to your rings. And I still didn't pull it enough. Close. Maybe a 25%. And I had to put a little bit more backspin on there than I usually like when you're running it up. I usually like to run up stuff instead of trying to backspin it in. If you're just trying to run it up to the cup, if you use 2-3 backspin, what it does is it'll stop the ball, and then it will release it, and the ball will just roll out. And when you start getting into the 4, it responds just a little bit different. And that ball right there did roll out fairly well. And it was, definitely not enough wind adjustment. Let's look at that hole again. Let's look at it. Let's see what we got here. So you can see this shadow that's right here. This is where this is all downhill. So we got this hump, and then it's coming up to where the sand's at right here. And then it's flat in this area. And so putting my white ring right along that transition. Now I could have pulled it back so that I could have pulled it back. I still had, because my white ring's there, I still had 5 rings to pull it back. But typically what happens when you get on that type of hill is the rings will get distorted a little bit. Not always the case, but trying to find a spot that I can go back to. And, like using a transitional area and saying, hey, I'm going to start off 2 rings of separation, or 2 1/4 rings, or 2 1/2 rings, so that when you go back to set the shot up, you kind of know the area that you're going in. When you're working out in a big ass fairway like this and you're trying to set it up, what you need to know is how much backspin, how much side spin you're putting on there. But you can also kind of help yourself out if you can find some kind of landmark out there to go with, especially the first time you play it. So like if you come out here and you start to have some success on it, you can go, okay, hey, I'm going to put, what you really need to have on your notes is I'm going to put 4 backspin, and then I'm going to put like 1 1/4 side spin, right side spin. And then you can set the ball up first and then go out there and find the spot that works for that setup and then work from there. Then make your wind adjustment. But you won't know any of that the first time you go out there and play a hole. So trying to find some place that you can set it up, some kind of marker, always helps. Always helps. I'm not sure. Like I brought that 5 side spin ball out and from over here coming here, and this area right here is like I said, it's like this. So if you're hitting right in the center, you can get the response that you're looking for. But if you hit it off on the hill just a little bit, off to the left or the right, the ball is going to go to the left or the right. And you could end up, you know, hitting a slight grate to the left or the right and end up being way off to the left or the right. You did have a pretty good landing area down here, especially if you use a Grizzly, where you've got probably, you know, 2 rings on either side, so you can work out some wind. But it is pretty domed right there. It's not a flat, rough area. And this area up in here was the same way, so I think we might be just going straight at it like that. What would probably be better if I want to get away from this so that I don't have to put so much backspin is to pull it off to the left, and then I could run it up. That way I could pull it back just a little bit more. We'll have to work on this hole a little bit, see what works. This is one of those holes where somebody can come out and go, this is the spot, and it's like, hey, there's lots of spots. You just have to find out what works best for the ball inventory that you have, because you may not have a ball that has enough side spin to pull it back over from this side, so you may have to be more straight in front of it so that you can go straight at it. All right, hole number 3. What is hole number 3? And Tommy's got 15, and I don't, from where I was at, 20 wasn't enough. All right, big par 5 here. So from the looks of it, from our tee box coming out into this first fairway, let's say we can only get to the end. Let's say we can't get over. So if we can only get to the end down there, and we're in this area, we got to think about this tree right off the bat. So if we draw a line from the flagpole on the inside of that tree coming out, you know, we definitely want to be past that line. If you're trying to get over to the other side, this tree might not impede your shot, because from the distance from where you'd get over here to where you are to the tee, the tree's kind of in the middle, so it's in the apex of your arc going to the hole, so it might not be in play. But if you're back in here, it's definitely going to, you know, it could be in play, because it's more on this end of the arc where you're coming down through the tree, and so you'd have to kind of go around it. So getting past it would be key. It looks to me like we're probably not going to be able to get over to the other side, but we might be able to. And with these trees right here on this line, there may be a max overpower hook shot, but we're starting off with these trees right here, and we're starting off trying to do a max overpower hook shot. So these trees are definitely going to be there. I think these trees are far enough in the run that you might miss them, but these trees right here might be problematic with a max overpower hook. I suppose the other way you could do it is trying to get a bounce here and top spin it to get it over to the other side. But if we think about arc, you know, from the tee to the here, and we do our arc of our shot, this isn't that much farther off, and this definitely looks like it would be a riskier shot to try and get over there, but I don't even know if we can get over there. And you still got the tree in your way. So let's check it out. Let's check it out. Titan. I might, if we're doing a layup shot, if the first shot is a layup shot, we'll have to see what kind of club. And that second shot, let's go back and let me look at that one more time. That second shot, distance-wise, you know, from here, let's say we were laying it up from here to here, this distance, and then you think about from here to here, this distance, we might be able to get that done with a sniper. Maybe. It's hard to tell when you're looking at these photos on like what the hell's going on or what you can and can't get done. But it is good when you're playing a hole the very first time to go out there and look at it and at least kind of get an idea of like what your options are, what things you should be looking for, like those trees, you know. And when you're out there on the course, like looking to see if the trees are really in your way. Let's see if we can practice. Maybe the players. Hole number 3. I'm gonna run out of practice tokens, I think. I did buy a tee, but those things are crazy because it's got to shoot it off, a 6-shooter that misses on a regular basis. I just don't understand what the thought process is there. I paid for that tee. It should give me one every hole I play. I can understand them wanting us to play a hole in order to get one, but I played a hole, I should get one. I paid for the tee. And what you're telling me is now it's in a random deal and it spins it, and maybe it'll shoot it off and maybe it won't. What kind of bullshit's that? Oh, we can make it over to the other side. But I'm not sure what that would net us with that tree. That tree looks pretty damn big. And these trees are definitely... Let's see. Yeah, see how that tree is if we wanted to do a max overpower hook shot? Let's just see what it looks like if we go straight forward and just try and lay it up. So I'm going to pull back to the 0 mark. Put a couple, maybe 1, 2 topspin. Take the wind out. It's 3. Hitting it perfect. And I'm not bringing the bigger ball for the first shot, obviously, because we were able to pull back from the red line. We may be bringing the bigger ball, and we may be able to come out here with a katana. But we have to think about on those days, we'll have to see how the second shot plays out, because we got to be thinking, we got to see where our club can hit. Because it's always nice when you can pull back a little bit from the red line, and that way if you're on a headwind day, you started off back from the red line, and then you can push it forward to take the wind out. I definitely see people trying to get over to the other side. If you brought out a big power 5 ball, you might be able to get it far enough to the right to clear this tree, but man, it doesn't look like it. And that is right there. And I don't know that this club has enough topspin to give me the rough bump. It does. It does. Almost all of it. 3-2. How close can I get to my... I can get pretty close, so it looks like it might be a little uphill. I'm just going to do a 3-2 pull. If I can get lined up with the wind. Hey. 3-2. And I hit it great to the left. I'm not sure I actually moved the tees. I don't think I moved the course and not the rings. That was my bad. That should have still even great there. What happened was when I moved it, I wasn't moving the rings. I moved the course. So if we're coming here, we've either got to bring because you got to think on a headwind day right there, we're going to be in big trouble if we use a sniper. And we've got a 3 power ball. Now I did leave a little teeny bit on the course as far as like getting all the way to the end of that first fairway, but you'd need to get all the way to the end of the first fairway so that you could clear it. And if we had a headwind day, this might be a hole where you bring out either your big dog or your cataclysm for the second shot, and you can still do a rough bump with them because they've got great topspin. Or you bring out a bigger ball. And then you could come at it, if you brought out a 4 or a 5 power ball, then you could go straight at it. Hit it perfect, it goes in. And I hit a 1 ring great to the right, and I will tell you, this is going to be another one of those courses. This pisses me off, and I don't know how you lodge. I suppose you could send in a ticket and lodge a complaint, but I will tell you right now that those signs are probably in the way, and that's total bullshit. Because those signs are not a permanent fixture on the course. And so if those signs got in the way, they would move the signs, and the signs shouldn't be out there to begin with. The signs, hey, if they want to put the signs out there so that they're promoting the players, that's fine. But they shouldn't be in play. They should be visible but not playable. This is like, and I've used this analogy before, this is anybody who's a NASCAR fan. At the end of the race, they pull into victory lane and they put a bunch of shit on the top of the car. It doesn't matter who your sponsor is. They put a bunch of shit on the top of the car for the league sponsors. But they don't put that shit on your car on the first lap and it flies off when you're going 200 miles an hour through turn number 4. Okay, that's not how it works. That stuff should not be in play. But you know that it is. You know that they put that stuff in play and that can affect you. So you hit a little bit off and you're still in the playing area, and now you've got some sign that's not a permanent fixture that's blocking your approach to the cup. That is total BS. Total BS. All right, what do we got? Hole number 4. Hole number 4. Hole number 4. Another par 4 here. Now, this is always these types of holes where we got water. And this is O freaking B. OB, out of bounds at the end of our run. So trying to get over that at the end of your run is probably dangerous. Probably. I'm going to say dangerous. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. So getting down here towards the end would probably be beneficial. And if you look at that green, man, these pictures do not do some of these greens. It looks to me like it rolls off this direction and that there's a ridge right in here. So if you're hitting it from over here, you're coming down to the cup and it could roll past it. If you're way down here, then you're hitting it up the hill. And it's always, in my opinion, it's always better to hit up the hill to the cup than it is to hit where you're going down the hill to the cup. But I don't know if you can. That's the other thing, is trying to get around. You're going in this direction, and then at the very end of your run, you need it. You can get some change of direction in the middle. You may actually even fade off in the 3/4 mark. But when you're down at the end of your run, trying to get the balls, hey, I want the ball to go straight, and then at the very end, I want it to hook off to the left. That's not how it usually works. You can do that if you're trying to use the center part so that you can change the direction, but it usually doesn't work at the end. So it's probably going to be more where we're ending up in this area on this side of the shadow, like in this quadrant, as opposed to being able to get out here. But we'll see. We'll see where our red line is. If our red line's like in here, then we can bring it around with spin to get it over there. But if our red line's back in here where this is our red line, it's not going to, we might be able to creep it a little, but we're not going to be able to dig ourselves way down to the end. We'll see where the red line's at. The red line will determine this entire deal. Practice, 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 practice. Let's see what we can get going. I always like playing holes for the first time, just going out there and seeing what they look like. And this is another reason why it's so dang important to record your own video, because you can come out on a course like this and you play it the very first time. And I know that we have replays, but it's not nearly as good as recording your own video. And you can talk while you're shooting the video and you're like, damn, I should have added on 10%. And what you're doing is you're giving yourself notes. Or like, hey, I did that shot fine and I did this and it went in, but you can give yourself a heads up so that when you're going back and listening to the video, you're telling yourself how to set that shot up a little bit better. Like, wow, I played that shot totally wrong. So if I used a bigger hitting club, this is definitely one. So with that red line there, unless you wanted to try and take it this direction, let's see what that would look like. You might be able to rough it out to get a little bit further. And try and get it to come out on the very tip down there. That might be a way to do it. Let's try that. Let's see if that's possible. I'm going to do 2 rings. And see, I move the course again. I'm on a little bit of power. Not much, but a little. Hitting it perfect. We'll see if I can bleed it out on the end. If you want to get all the way to the tip, that's probably going to be the better way to do that. And you can see how the course is rolling down here, so getting on that side of the cup might be a better way to come at it. If you're taking the shot straight up, you're going to end up on the right hand side of that tree, and it looks like if you look at where the cup's at right there, it does look like there's a ridge, and the cup's like right at the top, and then it breaks off to the left and goes downhill. See which way my opponent's going. They're going let's see if I got any more distance than them. That was a nice shot on their part. It seemed like they were a little, like how much, not too much different, but they definitely were narrow. There's Max Club. Put on one backspin. Put on two. 3.3 divided by 1.2. 275. There's 275. Exactly. Hitting it perfect. That was just a straight up shot. Just a bit outside. And I should have added on just like maybe a plus 0.1. What would 10% have been? Times 1.1. Would have been 3 as opposed to 275. That might have been just a little too much. Let's see, 5%. 288. So basically a straight up shot plus 1, maybe plus 1.5, 2. Maybe the 5% might have been better. Just a straight up 5% shot. I'm not sure if playing in practice with precision balls is worth the waste of the ball. The green doesn't look like it has as much movement on there as I wish we could scroll back and take a look at it. So there's a couple ways you can play it. My opponent's shot seemed like it was pretty, like their bounces going through were pretty close. Like they didn't have a lot of separation. And we'll go back and look at that hole, and let me draw a straight line and see like where they were close and what kind of movement they'd have to get on it. Let's go look at it. Let's go look at that one more time. So from the tee box being on this line right here, we're trying to come out in this direction. So we're coming out in this direction. So we're close in here. So we're going to have to be on this side right here in order to give ourselves a little bit of separation up here. So coming through this area and then trying to weave it. So you got one area that you're close and two areas that you're close. So let's say that you could give yourself 2 rings of separation here. So if you could give yourself 2 rings of separation here and you're pushed out, it's going to pull you here. So you may have to use a little bit of spin to bring you out, and you're going to be a little short of where my opponent was. I think my opponent was right here and I was like towards the end. I think they probably hit theirs pretty straight. So in order to hit it straight, you're probably leaving yourself like maybe 1 here and 1 here. So if you're here on the first bounce and you hit it great to the left, you'll make that bounce no problem. But you're going to be this far into your run, that one bounce that's here, which is only here, is now over here. So that means you're in the rough here and you may or may not get out. If you hit it great to the right on the drive, you may end up clipping here and you may or may not get out. So it's pretty narrow going through there. So if you're going to hit straight forward and not do it, the way that the green looks, I don't know, it looks to me like there's a ridge right in here, and then it's rolling down. But when you're out there on the course, it didn't look like it had really that much movement to it. So I'm not sure that it would matter whether you're here in the middle or if you're trying to get around the bend and you're here. Now, obviously, I was in wedge range, so if you're in wedge down in here, and I still had a little bit of room on my red line, so I probably would have still been in wedge here. This is going to be a short iron shot as opposed to a wedge shot. But I think you can get to this spot every time because you're just having to hit it straight down the fairway at all. Then the only determining factor is how much topspin to put on it. So once you get your topspin worked out, and even if you were in a consistent spot like right here every time, it would be better to get this shot every single time so that you could practice the second shot than it would be to end up in the rough once, out in the clear, in the rough once, out in the clear, out in the clear, out in the clear, in the rough, out in the clear, where you're getting inconsistency. I did kind of like this shot though, and I think on a headwind day, you probably have to bring out a little bit bigger ball, or those 3-power topspin boost balls that they have right now. You can run what you do is you run all the topspin, and then you pull the ball back from the red line, and you set it up back from the red line. So on days when there's headwind, you can still work the wind out, and you don't have to do any overpower. You can get out here to the end, but I'm not sure. Other than the fact that it put me in wedge as opposed to short iron, it is a little bit riskier, and you may have to bring out a bigger ball. But we have some options there. We do have some options. And it looked to me like maybe a 5% going to the cup is where my next round, I'll do a 5% to the cup, and we'll see. We'll try and work it from there. Hole number 5. Hole number 5. Is this a par 5? This is a par 5. Well, we got another tree situation here. So we take the line from the cup and we draw it from the tree. And we need to be out in this area here in order to clear this tree. But once again, if you look from the tee box, so the rookie tees being on the left-hand side, that kind of helps us out, going off in this direction. We're going to have to, we got to do an S in our drive in order to get to the tip. So if our red line's out in here, we might be able to get bounce number 1 on this side, bounce number 2 on this side, and then run it up. We'll have to see what we can do here. I'm sure, based on where the tee box is, our red line's probably going to be somewhere out in this range, depending on what ball you bring. Now, if you brought out a big enough ball, there might be, because there's not really anything over on this side. Maybe. You might be able to do, depending on where our red line was, if we could get in front of this, but I doubt that we can get that far, there might be a max overpower hook shot that you could do to try and get over to the other side. But let's see if we could get all the way here to the tip, or we get here, we draw a line from here and we do our arc. We're not really, the distance from here to here is the same as it is from here to here, so it might not be worth the skin to try and get over here. It might be worth just getting over here as the shot, but you got to get past this tree. Because this tree is definitely, if let's say you could get out into this area trying to come at the cup, well, here's our arc, here's where we started, here's the cup, and here's the tree. So we may get caught up in the tree. We want the tree to be in the middle, and it's not going to be. So we have to get in front of it. And getting behind it is bad. Shit, there's no place behind it. We need to get into this spot. Faux show. I don't know that we have to get into that spot. Have to. Try it with we'll see what kind of range we got with our driver. So I'll go out there with an extra mile again. And a Titan, the king of balls. If you can't get it done with a Titan, you can't get it done. Hole number 5. Da-na-na-na. The hole-in-one clan. No, those trees are definitely. Look at how tall those trees are. For out here, maxed overpower hook shot's not going to work. Is this another one of those holes where we're trying to rough bump it out from behind the tree? It might be. It might just be. And if I put any curl in there to bring it back over into this area, it might be another one of those, like, I suppose we could pull it back and try and get, this is where the topspin boost would come in handy. We could get up into that area, but I think I might just try another rough bump. Oh, hitting it great to the right's not going to be conducive for getting out of that rough. And it didn't look like that shrub was in play. I'm going to hit it just over to the fairway and see what it looks like from over there. I think that this is definitely, this course, they've picked the right ball for this course, because from what I've seen so far, the three power on these holes was fine. My opponent's got a 3-side spin ball, which will help. What I don't like right there is look how close they're setting that up to that. Now, they did account for the wind, so with that club, that's basically a ring and a half, ring and a third. They got plenty of room down there, even with the 2-power ball. I didn't like how close they had to set that up. But they got options. You can recover from that area. Let's see what kind of shot we got from here. You can see how far you got to get it in order to get through that tree. The lower branches on that tree are definitely hanging. Now there might be a rough bump here. And the cool thing about a rough bump is the rough bump is, you can miss the tree entirely with the rough bump. Because like where my opponent's at, if they hit, if they were a little bit more to the left, or if they hit really far to the left, they're going to end up clipping the tree. But if you do the rough bump, you're hitting the rough bump before you get to the tree, so the tree's kind of out of play. Whew, I'm glad they missed that, so I can get another shot. I did not want that to go in. Let's see where we're at. Kingfisher. I'm at max Kingfisher. Now, the problem with my Kingfisher is it doesn't have a lot of topspin, so it's unlikely I can get up there. But if I had a runner or some other club that's got more topspin, there's definitely a rough bump that you can do from right here. But this is on that hillside, so if you're hitting it to the left or the right, then it becomes problematic. So while we can get there, it might not be the place to be. How close can I get? I can get really close. So 3 divided by 1.1 is 2.72. Right back to the red line, if I can get it off in time. Hitting it perfect. It was on track, but I left it a little short because of that headwind. Needed to push it forward just a little bit more. So just a straight up shot from down there. We can get, so if you're checking your rings, if you can get down to the point where you can start counting blades of grass, then you start getting into the thing of maybe I'm hitting uphill. Maybe I should take a little bit of wind off. If you're trying to get down to make your wind adjustment and you can't get close to your rings, then you're obviously hitting downhill and you're probably going to have to add on some wind. But it's not a bad deal to go out there the first time and just take a straight up shot with your club's numbers just to see where you're hitting and then make adjustments. Hole number 6. What is hole number 6? That hole right there, I kind of like what my opponent did with just a katana. That could save us a bigger ball. Where their red line was at, if we had headwind days, you might have to bring it out to a kingmaker, and it might be better to play it with a kingmaker every time. That way you don't have to change your setup for one to the next. You may be able to pull it back from the red line with a kingmaker, and then if we've got a headwind day, then it gives you a little bit of leeway to work out wind, and you still got the 3-side spin. Where they were at down here when they set it up, because they didn't actually pull the rings, they eyeballed it. they set up right on the limit, and we had what, a 2.6 mile an hour wind going this way. So with their extra mile, that's a ring and a half. So they gave themselves a ring and a half of distance. I typically like to give myself at least 2 rings of separation on every transitional surface. That way, if you don't catch it perfect, you're giving yourself, because you don't want to get caught up here. That's for damn sure. Even if you don't end up in exactly the spot that you wanted to end on up here you can recover. Down here, you might be in a spot of bother. That distance, you're definitely going to be in a spot of bother. Definitely. Kmart sucks. Definitely. All right. Hole number 6. And that flag is too far away for a rough bump off of the front up here. Maybe with a Goliath. You never know. Goliath's got so much damn topspin. And it looks like it's too sharp of an angle to get in from over here. And I really don't like these eyes. So this is another one of those holes going straight up at it. And typically on these holes, I like to get as far back as I can, so that I don't have to use a lot of topspin and just kind of roll it up to the cup. It's a pretty big green area, so it really is going to depend on what kind of movement we have. So these shadows right here are telling me that the green is here, and then it's dropping off in this area. So we might be able to find a flat spot out here to run it up. When you get these kind of areas, so what I want to do is I want to hit, and then I want to hit it over that area so it never encounters it, and then hits a flat part, and then starts to run on the flat part of the green and hit myself over these, just bounce over them. We'll see. I'm gonna take a, I think the problem that I was having there with my katana earlier is that I don't have any freaking katanas. Let's buy a few. I'm gonna have to buy a pack in order to get some gems, because I'm not gonna be able to open up. I don't like to play without an empty slot. One of the things that we were talking earlier in the video about the not getting an opponent during practice. I liked it when they're not going to give us any holes for free. They're not going to give us any practice holes for free. So they can say whatever they want, but they're not going to give us any practice holes for free. So like if we went to a shootout, then we're getting to practice a par 3 for free, and they're not gonna give us any holes for free. I don't like the fact that we don't have the opportunity to win a chest every time. I forfeited a lot during tournaments. It's part of the reason why my win percentage is like 50 something, because I forfeited 2,000 matches in tournaments when we get to a shootout. But I always felt good about giving somebody else a chest, and if you want to practice, you can. If I wanted to practice, I could practice. Especially during this where we're practicing, hey, we ended up, nobody picked the shot up, and we ended up getting a practice hole. We get a free hole as a bonus. Dunner playing hockey. Sure, don't want to play Golf Clash. Have other activities that you do. Now, you definitely don't want to do a rough bump on this because of that lip that's on the front of the green. And the green is definitely uphill. I'm going to just do a straight up shot, but it definitely looks like we should be maybe taking a little bit of wind off. Might be pretty flat. Might be. Where's our red line? So there's min. There's max. So we're at mid club out here. I'm going to just put on 2 backspin. Let's see where I can get with 2 backspin. That bounces me over the treble area. So it's 3.3. I'm in mid club. I'm just going to do a 3.3 plus 0.1, so it'll be 3.4. Hitting it perfect. Should have pulled a little bit off. And what I could do there is I could add something, or I could hit it at max club. So it was 3.3 divided by 0.9 would have been 3.66, as opposed to 3.3 plus 1. So it would have been 3.66 plus 1, so it would have been 3.738 versus the 3.4. So I'm not sure even doing max club. Maybe max club plus 5. Or minimum club plus 20. Let's see. I think I should have moved it about 4 rings. Let's see what it would take to get me to 4 rings. 3.3 times 1.1 divided by 0.9. So if I did a max club plus 10%, that would get me right at about 4 rings. And then I add on plus 1, so it'd be 4.1. Let's see what it would have taken to get me there. Plus 30 divided by 1.0 plus 20. So either 20% at mid or 10% at max. One of the two. One of the two. It's at mid club. I kind of like to stay at mid club and work those numbers. It's 1 per ring plus 0.1 at mid. It's easy to do the math when it's 1 to 1. And I do like the fact that I didn't have to put on a lot of backspin out in this area. I could just put on 2 backspin and then try and go straight at it. Not bad. I'll have to play that hole a few times, but I think that hole is just about working out the wind adjustment, and we're going to have some pretty good opportunities on it. Pretty good. What do we got here? Is this a par 4? Par 4, hole 7. Now the question here is, once again, we're at the end of our run and we're trying to get through a sandy area to try and get over into this fairway. And if we're in this fairway, we want to be on the right-hand side of this fairway. If we're on the left-hand side, we're putting this tree in play. So if we're coming over to the other side, we just want to be like right here on the other side if we can't get all the way up. Now, we might be able to. Yeah, we probably can. We could probably get up into here and then try and come around the tree and try and get on the green. Obviously, on any par 4, you want to get on the green if you can. Let's check it out. We'll take the same damn club, and we'll take a Titan, the king of balls. Normally on par 4s, we have an opportunity, the way that Golf Clash plays, that we can get up on the green, and that's always beneficial. We got to, for my money, you maximize your round by getting par 4s. I mean, the par 4s are typically the easiest shots to get up there, where you got a chip that you can get in and out. And so getting up there and being able to pick up if you can pick up the par 4s, you know, you're at 15. Minimum scores on almost every course out there, not every course, but almost every course is 12. And then trying to pick up the 3 par 4s puts you at minus 15. And then we're starting to talk about banner range, anything else that you can pick up. So you always want to be able to get these par 4s as good as you can. And if it takes a 5 power ball to get up there, then that's what it takes on a par 4. And I might need a little more curl. This would be another one of those holes where side spin would come in handy. So this is a blind curl shot. If I don't have a ball that'll get me up there, that might be a little bit too much topspin. I'm put on 6. I'm going to give myself 3.5 rings of separation. 2-4, I'm right at the red line. It's 1.5 per ring, so there's 1.5. I'm going to go a little over a ring and a half. Max curl and a little bit of overpower. 1 ring great to the right. And we'll see if I I could set that up. So I was 3.5 rings out. I could set that up, and I was 1 ring great to the right. So a perfect would have just barely made it through. And I want to put myself right down through the middle of the fairway. So I started off 3.5 rings. I was halfway in the clear ring, setting it up so that I am maybe 3 rings. What I don't like about this is I don't like being that close to the tree. I wanted to give myself a little bit of room from the tree so that I can go in between the trees. You can see right there, if they put just a little bit of overpower, or if they put a little bit too much on it, they're going to clip the tree and they're going to end up right dead in the sand. So on days when they're, okay, I'm thinking we're going to see exactly what I'm talking about right here. Hit that perfect. And that's definitely, if that doesn't hit the tree, I'm going to be pissed off. Staying back a little bit and trying to get through the center as opposed to trying to muscle your way through it. All right, let's see if I can hit it perfect. Let's see if I can hit one of these sand shots perfect today. Fuck no, that was way off. This is definitely a hole because of this, where the trees are. If you bring out a bigger power ball, you're going to be closer to the trees where you're not having to do the overpower like my opponent was doing, or having to do overpower on the angle that my opponent was taking. I'm not into that at all. That seems like a recipe, like some days it'd work out fine, but there's a lot of days that would not work out. Like you would just get it just a little bit wrong. We'll go back and look at this hole again so that now that we know where the stuff is. I think the 6 topspin, I think if you've got an extra mile, I don't know that we'd need to use all of the topspin, and a Kingmaker would have helped out there. Just with the side spin. If you bring out a 5 side spin ball, you're not going to, so once again, the ball that they're selling right now with the topspin boost, you're not necessarily needing the topspin, but it depends on your club levels. You might need the topspin. But the 5 side spin could get you around the bend and you wouldn't have to do as much curl. In the hole, birdie. Thunder putt. All right, let's take a look at that hole. Let's go back and look at it one more time. So my opponent was down in this area right here where the tree was in play, trying to get as much as they could, and then putting overpower on it. So I think if they'd hit it perfect, they would have clipped the tree. And I was back out here away from the tree. I'm trying to go through this center gap. So if we look at the way that the hole is, we draw a line like straight through the center here. We're out in this area. I want my ball on that flight path so that my ball is leaving the tee and it's coming around the bend and it's going straight towards the cup. So I pulled myself about 3.5 rings away from this transitional surface, and even though I hit it 1 ring great to the right and ended up right here on the sand, I think a perfect probably would have ended up tailing off into the rough or the sand. So I could come in from that 3.5 rings. If we're doing the artillery, we could come in maybe a ring and maybe just be 2.5 rings, and then do max curl to try and get our arc right so that we're going from the tee box around the bend and we're coming straight down the gut, as opposed to trying to hit it up against this tree. There is a lot of shit that can go bad here. When you leave yourself that little room and the trees in play, if you overpower it just a little bit too much, you're in trouble. If you hit like my opponent did where they're great, it can be in big trouble. And you're not, my opponent really wasn't trying to get themselves on this trajectory. So if the ball would have rolled out, I think it still would have rolled out into trouble. And it's better to get your ball so that when it comes around the bend, it's actually rolling straight down the middle of the fairway. If it rolls a little bit longer than you wanted, it's up by the green. If it rolls a little bit shorter, it's up by the green. In the fairway. In the fairway. Fairway to green. All right, we're ending on a par 3, so we got a par 5 here, and from the rookie tees, we got a straight line coming through. We've got that S curve again, so hopefully we can get our red line like in this area. We're not going to be able to get on, but we might be able to get in this area, and then there might be a rough bump where we can just bleed out. But we got to worry about, we've got to be, we draw a line on the tree here and we draw a line on the tree here. We got to be in this area so that these trees at the end aren't in play. So we've got to be in this area, somewhere in this line. It's not going to do us any good to just hit it right here because now we got a tree in our way. We might be able to get around it from back here and get through the gap. But if we're trying to hit over to this side, we need to get right dead center in the middle of this fairway. If you're hitting it from back here, well, you got a tree right here, so you need to get in front of that tree. So we either need to be in this area or we need to be in this area, because if we're in this area, we can bring it around and come through the gap. And here we can hit through the gap. But this is one of those ones where we need to pinpoint the ball into an area, and we need to be in that area every time. Let's get on it. We will get back on it. Same balls. I'll switch back to an extra mile because it looks like topspin might be a factor here. Are we in the... I already did it. Haven't gotten any... Well, I did. I got a Cataclysm today in the club card trading, which wasn't bad. It's unfortunate on days. I got a Cataclysm and a Spitfire today, and both of those are clubs I'm working on, but I'm working more to get my Cataclysm to level 7, and I just got my Spitfire to level 6, so I got a ways on it. And my Cataclysm, I think I'm at like 70 something. I think my Apocalypse is somewhere right around that same area. It's at level 6, and then I'm 70 of 200, 75 of 200. Still got a ways to go, but I'm inching it there. 1 year at a time. It'll only take me. The game came out in 2017. I didn't get an Apocalypse in this account for the first 2 years I played, and I played probably 1,000 T7 matches and did not get an Apocalypse in the first 2 years. At least 1,000. So what I mean, 23 game came out. So all of 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 games been out for 7 years. I would still have a level 3 or level 4 Apocalypse if it hadn't been for the club card trading. It took so long to get it. And then for like 5 or 6 months after I got it, I didn't get a single card for it. I think I had it to level... I might have had it to level 2 when the club card trading came out. And if it wasn't for the club card trading, it would still be probably at level 2 or 3. My opponent is right in the gut, right straight down the middle. That's where you want to be. Let's see. Let's see what we can get done here. Where are my bounces at? I don't know if I can hit the rough there. I'm gonna try another one of those rough bumps. Let's see if we can get it out. Max curl. Hitting it perfect. Or see if that was too much topspin. It's got to hit the rough, otherwise it's going to be too much. And just rough bump it out. 364. Now my opponent is in Grizzly. Where are they at in Grizzly? I can't tell where they're at. probably going to be in mid grizzly, which is 1.0 per ring plus 0.1. With a 3 power ball. We will see. Close. Close. Where am I? There's min. There's max. So I'm in mid club. So I am in the, I could probably go back towards min. Be 5 rings off of min. Kind of like that spot right there. The minimum club, it's 1.3 per ring, so 3.4 divided by 1.3. Let's see how close I can get to my rings. Pretty close. 2.6 minus 1, so 2.5. I'm going to do the plus 1. I'm going to do 2.6. Oh! And I hit it great to the left. Oh! Had the distance, so that it might have been a little, it might have been right on the edge of the cup, and I think I left it right on the edge of the cup. Sometimes if you find a spot back there where it's running flat like that, you can find an area where there's a funnel. Well, there's 2 ways to play it. My opponent went straight at it so that they were just in the fairway, and I did the rough bump on it. So the rough bumps, trying to do those second or third bounce rough bumps are always kind of dangerous, but it looks like we do have some options on this course. We do have some ways to play it, some alternate ways to play it. And I didn't see, like, even the par 4s. I think all 3 of the par 4s we can work it out, so that we can get up there. Now there is one of them that we're still gonna, I think we might be able to get all 3 of the par 4s. This one we were gonna have to hit over. So we still have a shot from distance here, but we can get in our short iron range. And you can either go straight at it, you can try and get around the bend like my opponent did, or you can hit that rough and try and get out there to the tip. Shorten it out. This is gonna be wedge and this is gonna be short iron, depending on what ball you bring. So if you bring out a bigger power ball, you don't necessarily need it on the drive here, but it could help you on the second shot where you're in max wedge. I like this. So I think this course is going to be fun. There's a lot of holes on this course that I think that doing that second bounce rough bump might be good. This hole right here, I did the rough bump trying to come around the tree, and I'm not sure. I brought a Titan. My opponent brought a Katana. I didn't really like how close they were in here, but they were definitely able to get out, or they were past the tree into this area and had a pretty straight up shot and didn't have to burn a big power ball. So we have some options on this. I think a little bit of practice and we can get the drive shot down. Typically, here's what I will do on a course when we first start playing. I'm not as concerned about the shot to the cup. My concern right now is getting to the point where I can get to consistently. And once I figure out where I'm trying to drive to, now I know what club I need, now I know what ball I need, and now I know what shot it's going to take me to get there. And once I figure those 3 things out, then I start worrying about my shot to the cup. Because before that, you're going to be here, 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 and you're inconsistent. But once you figure out what it takes to get to a consistent spot, then you can start really working the second shot. Because I can tell you that the adjustment from here is going to be different than the adjustment from up here. So if you're in this spot, what you do, because you're going to have to work with the tree, is different than what you can do here. And this hole, if you bring out a short, or I think I was in short iron range from, I just chipped it up over here, but if you can get down to the tip here, you're in short iron range. There is a rough bump that you can do if you bring out a club that's got more topspin, but it's one of those rough bumps where here's the green and then it rolls over, so the rough areas is a little, and these rough areas don't look smooth where it's just rolling over and then you're hitting on this. They're almost bubbled. And so I'm not sure I like this type of rough bump, but there is a rough bump here if you bring out the right club. All right, thanks for watching. That was a walkthrough scouting report on the Champions 9-Hole Cup, the Players Championship 9-Hole Cup at Sawgrass. Thanks for watching. Everybody have a great week. If you like the videos, hit like. If you want to subscribe, hit subscribe. Dunner's got a channel that's out there. I will put a link to his channel. I'm sure we will shoot some video. He said he was going to play this week, so we'll shoot some combined videos so you can see multiple ways to play it. Thanks for watching.